Hello, this is Dr. Farley, and this is going to be a video that should help you improve your peer responses, kind of see what it is that we'd like you to take from them. How do you most effectively learn from them? All right, to do that I have an example from a previous semester, so we'll just go through this here, and I'll sort of demonstrate how this might work. All right, this is question 1 from one of the readings from Module 1. So in the first paragraph, Smiler writes that she's convinced that all men are trifling. Does this seem like a fair generalization? How does this statement fit with the general tone of the essay? The student answers, I wouldn't say Smiler is making a fair generalization. She gives some examples of well-known cases of men being unfaithful to their wives or girlfriends, such as Bill Clinton. She also asserts that essentially every man she has ever known was either unfaithful or a liar. While it seems like she knows a rather unfortunate amount of trifling men, her experiences can hardly account for all men everywhere. Her experiences have left her, quote, convinced that all men are trifling regardless of race, age, religion, income, education, political affiliation, or sexual orientation, end quote. It's still only a small sample size, and it's certainly not fair to label all men as such. This statement does connect to her belief that men are bombarded with advertisements, quote, that not only tell them it's commendable to be a player, but also give them a playbook for how to do it. I think she puts far too much credence into these advertisements and their actual effects on how men act with women. I grew up learning to treat everyone, including women, as equals, and I might read one such magazine article for a good laugh, but it would never be more than that. I think Smiler would find there are many men just like that if she looked a little harder. All right, so we are going to take a look at some of the ideas here. Individually, and then we'll kind of talk about how this works in general. All right, so this first idea I would say starts here, and that idea is taking from the text what Smiler is convinced of here about this generalization. So number 1 is answering this question here. Does it seem like a fair generalization? This student, I would say, idea number 1, clearly believes that it is not fair generalization, right? Okay. Idea number 2 follows up. This statement does connect to her belief that all men are bombarded with advertisements. And so here we have the connection between the behavior of men and the advertisements. And once again, remember that the article title is Trifling Media. So the point of the article is really to focus on the media as well. And finally, we have idea number 3, which would be the author's personal experience and a sort of justification is how he connects these two ideas of the media with Smiler's ideas. Okay? So how we might respond to these is to look at the ideas and look at what the author or what the peer is trying to say in this answer, right? First thing, that Smiler is making too big of a generalization. The second thing, that this generalization is sort of put together because of the advertisements in these men's magazines. And 3, this person is saying that they grew up treating women as equals, but that they would read and sort of have a good laugh at a magazine article like this. All right? And so what we need to do is, as peer responders, is to find ways in which to kind of dig a little bit deeper into what this person is trying to say here. I think most people would probably agree with the first point, that it's a generalization. A lot of people skip over the second point. And we get to the third here. I grew up learning to treat everyone as equals, but I'm going to have a good laugh at these magazine articles about these sort of objectification of women. So as someone who's responding as a peer, while I might agree largely maybe with this idea of a generalization up here, what I'm going to kind of hone in on is this idea down here. The idea of being able to treat someone as an equal, but also kind of laugh at something that is essentially at their expense. All right, so in a response here, there's many ways in which you could do this. You could ask questions. For instance, Why is that funny? Is it funny to be a player, or is it something that, in other words, we're trying to get at not only men's reactions to these things, right? But if this is true, and if we agree that this is true, that this is the true content of men's magazines, why? Right? In other words, what are the magazines trying to appeal to within male nature? And so those are but that might be an interesting question. Why would the magazines write articles that are demeaning if men are not sort of treating women in a demeaning way, but they're still laughing about stories that do treat women in a demeaning way? Right? So is there a sort of disconnect there? So those are some interesting questions to think about. And again, you are asking the original author, so you don't have to answer those questions for them. You are simply raising those questions. If you do have a potential answer, you can share your thoughts as to why you might think that is the case. Right? Another way is to sort of counter this with a different example that might be slightly more uncomfortable. For instance, if there was a story that was demeaning someone based on race, right? And would this person laugh at a story that was sort of depicting, say, African Americans or Latinos or Asian people, whatever race it is, that was sort of denigrating them? Would we sort of be comfortable reading it for a laugh, but still be treating those people as equals? Right? So sort of different example, different context, but in a way that shows some similarities, right? This is just about women, which, but it could be about race or whatever else. So would that author likely do the same thing there too? And would that be found problematic? Okay? The idea with all of these things to do, and those are just a few points to pick apart there. You have to sort of think through, try and understand where this person is coming from. Again, not to be critical. And this person may not actually mean this, or maybe they do mean it, and maybe they kind of realize now there might be an issue there, right? From a different perspective. So you're adding perspective, you're adding context. You are hoping to, by your response, to have the original author rethink what they're trying to say and how they're viewing the story. What sort of biases or opinions or perspectives are they bringing into the story, and how can you shed more insight on what they're trying to say? That's what a peer response should do. Okay? So what is in a good response? Again, what do we do first? We responded to the original author's points, but we had to stop and sort of think about what are they really trying to say. That's point number one. All right? Until you do that, you're not going to get anywhere. So you have to understand what points they're trying to make. You might think of the examples that they use. They pulled examples straight from the text, but as I said, by shifting the example a little bit, maybe additional insight could be gained there as well. Okay? So your job is to ask questions, and again, you don't have to answer these questions. These are just, you are just trying to continue to drive the conversation to make the author think about what they're doing. Right? Provide additional context examples. Maybe there's some new light you can shed on it by sort of taking the idea, the basic concept as you see it, and shedding light on it in different ways. All right? So the key here, you're opening up new avenues of thinking on the topic. The key question you have to answer by the time you finish your peer review is, what do you want the original author to gain by reading your response? One reason why we say specifically in the rubric and the instructions that you should not just simply agree with something that the author said, read something and say, oh, this was really nice. I thought when you said this, I loved it. Is because what is the author going to gain from you just saying everything that you said was really great? Right? They're going to read your response and then really have nowhere to go from there. So while it's wonderful to agree and supporting each other is a great thing, and you'll see this in the peer reviews as well, there's a space for that. Your entire response cannot simply be agreeing with someone. We are here to be nice, we are here to be professional, but we are also here to challenge each other, to be critical, and to open up new pathways, new connections, and to learn from each other through dialogue. All right? I hope this video helps you see kind of where we're trying to head with these analytical tools, being able to parse and sort of separate and think deeply about what this person is trying to say, trying to understand it in your own mind and formulate a response that opens up new avenues of thinking on the topic. That is how you learn, and that is how you're going to get the most out of this class now and as you move on in the future. All right, thank you.